And still today, if you are Googling something, sometimes there are some links presented which really do not fit what you were looking for. But that's why, but this is also not, this does not lead at the end to the fact that we are saying, no, we do not Google anymore. We just say, okay, the link was not the right one. Okay, try the next one. And I think we should consider it here similar because ChatGPT cannot be considered as, let's say, the single source of truth and a kind of someone who can answer everything like God or something like this. It is just an NLP model, and it is a really, really good one. And but of course, it's not free from failures. But this is also okay. It's just a technical application. Thanks for the invitation, Deepak. This podcast will about ChatGPT, how we are using as lawyers ChatGPT, how we can integrate this in our daily work. And of course, I'm gonna tell you also a bit about what are we doing different at Lex AI compared to ChatGPT. And this is, I think, also some really exciting perspective, which I can deliver today. And yeah, thanks again for inviting me.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the D4 Data Channel podcast. I'm your host Deepak, and with me we have Ms. Susann Funke. Susann is the co-founder and CEO of Lex AI, a platform purely built for the legal domain, which is powered by different NLP models. 5 months back, we had a podcast on how AI is impacting the legal industry and about Lex AI. So today we are here to discuss the potential impact of ChatGPT in the legal context and exploring the ways it could potentially used in some of the use cases. We'll also examine the ethical and moral implications of using ChatGPT in the legal domain, as well as the potential biases and limitations of this technology. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Susann, and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Great. So my first question. So, how ChatGPT's language understanding abilities can be utilized in the legal research and case analysis?
First of all, I need to say that ChatGPT is really a great application. So it is for some of the lawyers, or more or less for all of us, it was very surprisingly what is now possible compared to 6 months before. So and of course, I also tested it and tried it, and yeah, but when it comes, let's say, to legal research, it still has some, let's say, limitations. But first of all, anyway, I need to say this is also, I think, quite a normal development because it is pretty new, and of course, it cannot be fully developed right from the beginning. I think they are also still under development, the whole application itself, and I think within the next months and years, it will definitely be better. But currently, it is still limited, especially for legal research, because the legal database stops at 2021. We do not know where in 2021, if it's beginning 2021 or end of 2021, but it stops there. And if you are really doing some research about recent developments, then of course it says, no, this is not in my database. So it is still limited. And also when it comes to case law analytics, or if you really want to find something, sometimes it really states wrong decisions, even decisions which do not exist, if you really want to try to find them afterwards. And this is a bit, let's say, critical, but as a lawyer, you anyway need to check everything before you are handing it over to your client. So this is anyway your obligation. But with regards to efficiency, and in order to create, let's say, a kind of a template, or really to create some emails, also some maybe legal posts for LinkedIn, for Instagram, whatever. It is really a great application, and it's already a massive database. So we definitely should not underestimate it. So to sum it up, great application.
Great, great. So, how does the use of ChatGPT in legal context raise questions about legal responsibility and accountability, particularly in the decision-making process?
Mm, I think to be honest, I think it doesn't really change so much because, as I said, as a lawyer, you always need to check everything before you are handing this over to your client. No matter if it's at the end the kind of a contract template or any other thing that you are creating as a lawyer, you always need to check it. And also today, when we are using some kind of templates, and all lawyers are using templates, no matter if they have been created in-house in the legal department, or if you are taking it from some kind of a template book which is officially available, you always have to check it and also to adapt it for the client's purposes. So when you are taking or let ChatGPT create a template, of course, you also have to check it. So when, with regards to responsibility and of course also potential lawyer's liability, the situation is still the same. But definitely it makes the lawyer much more efficient, and that's why of course, we are also developing another NLP model. I can only be a fan of such an application because it really creates an efficiency which hasn't been there before. That's great.
Right, right. So, how does the use of ChatGPT in a legal context affect the privacy and security of sensitive legal information?
I think this is a good question, and we are also discussing this here in Germany, the Legal Tech Association, and we are in the very beginning to see, okay, how this interacts with what we call in Europe GDPR. Any kind of data privacy. And of course, currently ChatGPT acts like a spider. It grabs any kind of information somewhere from the internet, from Wikipedia, any kind of data. And yeah, when you are using it, you cannot be sure where is really the original source. So it is a bit intransparent. And yeah, with regards to data privacy, I think what we can already see is that there are some IPR claims because people are saying, okay, no, this has been my IP and JetGPT used it somehow and now is creating something different out of it. And that's why with regards to data privacy, we have to be careful, but it is somehow, with regards to regulation, it is, I think, somehow in a gray area. Because the regulation so far, which protects all the private data, this is not made for things like JetGPT, which are acting somewhere anonymously in the internet, grabbing all the data, working OpenAI. This is an area where different things are coming together and where people really do not know already, especially now in this situation where it's so also for JetGPT very earlier in their development, how to really handle these issues. And of course, when they are developing their NLP model, I think it is the responsibility at the end of JetGPT to make sure which sources they are using and not to take everything they can find. So I think at the end it's up to them to to observe that. And as I said, in the future this will be an issue for them because otherwise it will not be considered as a trustful source. So now everything is really crazy about JetGPT, but in the long run, they really need to lay a reliable database so that users can say, okay, this is a trustful application. I can use it, and I will afterwards not have any issues with data privacy because someone else is coming to me and saying, hey, you are using my template, and I'm, as a user, are even not aware of it because I was referring to JetGPT and thought I can use it. So this is something which is definitely a next big task for JetGPT to make their users sure that they can trust JetGPT. This is really, I think, one of the main, the next steps for them. as a user, you cannot control that. It is just it's absolutely intransparent, of course.
Understood. Understood. Got it. So, how do we balance the potential benefits of using ChatGPT in legal settings with the potential risk and drawbacks?
Um, I think it's also a bit related to the question before, because it is really, yeah, you only can control it as a lawyer. And also if the let's say justice and judges would start to use it, you can again only, yeah, control whatever kind of recommendation ChatGPT delivers. Otherwise, you do not have any chance to check or control it. And it is really up to ChatGPT to make sure that they are limiting the risk. And because this is absolutely not in the user's hand, it is always in the hand of the person or of the company that is creating the NLP model. And that's why at the end it's up to them. And I think for now, of course, it is more, let's say, playing around with ChatGPT. As a lawyer, you can use it. Then, of course, before handing this over to your client, you have to check it. But for other purposes, really using this in the, let's say, in the official justice area or for administrative issues, I think it is still too earlier. I think in a couple of years, even not in the far future, more in the near future, this might change. But yeah, for now it is still a bit too yeah, unsure and not precise enough.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, could you discuss any of the potential bias or limitation which you have actually like witnessed, like when you were trying it out by in this particular context, actually?
Yeah, as I said, it is limited to 2021, and we also tried it, and really many of my colleagues tried to use it and tried to create some letters for clients and so on, and also for administrative purposes. We really played around with that, and sometimes it was stating wrong decisions, also on a federal court level, but. It is not. It is not obviously, even not for lawyers, because the language itself, the language model, is really, really great. It creates complete sentences. It is, nothing is missing. The grammar is pretty good. For someone who is not familiar with the law itself or who hasn't studied it, he would never ever realize it that there's a mistake in it. So you really have to be careful with it and not just trust it blindly and say, okay, sounds good. I'm just taking it without controlling it, making more or less a copy and paste. I think this is not possible yet. And of course, you never ever should trust something like this. You always have to check it, as I said several times now. But this is still some, from my perspective, funny things that happen. And when you are even comparing it to, let's say, the capabilities of a human lawyer, of course, we are also making errors. That's just, we are just humans, and of course we're always expecting, when it comes to technical components, that everything is free of failures. But I think also somehow this is not realistically, especially not in the very beginning, and there's always a certain percentage of risk that something might go wrong. And even if you are referring to some, let's say, to some publications who have been written by lawyers or by other judges or by, I don't know by whom, it's also possible there's a mistake in it. And of course, we also have court decisions which are then later repealed in a higher on a higher level, so by another court, because they are considered to be wrong somehow. Or this is, I think, this is inherent in the legal system itself. And but to sum it up, I would say it is not really a limitation right from the beginning not to use it. It is just a kind of interim limitation. I think in the future it will definitely just disappear.
Got it, got it. I also tried this ChatGPT in the ESG context actually, and I purposefully gave some questions which I really am sure or like I verified it, and I could see it is giving wrong answers. Like, so we can never trust that output just by the data which it provides. Like for example, like if I ask okay whether there's a policy document for this company, so it can even give a wrong what to say, it gives like okay it has, and maybe some link it can give, and that link also sometimes it will not work. So there are
Yeah.
cases like that
Yeah.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah, this is really exactly the limitation. But I think this is just due to the thing that this is pretty new, and of course they have a
correct,
massive database. And
correct,
compared to the internet, which was introduced, I don't know, really, let's say actively 25 years ago, so that it was available to the mass, to everybody. It also had some or many mistakes in it, and still today, if you are googling something, sometimes there are some links presented which really do not fit what you were looking for. But that's why. But this is also not, this does not lead at the end to the fact that we are saying no, we do not Google anymore. We just say, okay, the link was not the right one. Okay, try the next one. And I think we should consider it here similar, because ChatGPT cannot be considered as, let's say, the single source of truth and a kind of an someone who can answer everything like God or something like this. It is just an NLP model, and it is a really really good one. And but of course, it's not free from failures. But this is also okay. It's just a technical application.
true, true. So over to my next question. So do you believe ChatGPT could potentially replace or augment the role of human lawyers and legal professionals, at least in few areas?
Yeah, I've seen in the recent weeks many discussions about this topic. If we lawyers or also judges would be replaced, I don't think so, not in the near future. And I can only state here what has been stated several times. It will not replace lawyers. It will only replace lawyers not using AI somehow, because I think we will see in the future that all of these legal tech applications, not only ChatGPT, they will increase the efficiency of lawyers in such a dramatic way that you are just simply too slowly if you would refuse any kind of modern legal tech applications. And that's why you are more or less or will be replaced automatically as you are too slowly, because also let's say the expectations of clients will change. Everybody more or less now knows ChatGPT, and maybe in 1-2 years also expect lawyers to use it and being faster. And then clients are not willing anymore to pay this kind of dramatic high billable hours. And so if you are then still refuse to be efficient as a lawyer, and say no, I don't want to use any kind of legal tech application, then you are going to be replaced. I think that's for sure, not in the near future, but I think at least in a decade from now, definitely. And when it comes, let's say, more to the area of justice, I think at least here in Europe, a judge will definitely not be replaced, because it is always, let's say, if it really comes to case law, it's an individual case. Each case shall also be considered and evaluated, and that's a really important point. Evaluated also from a human point of view individually, really considering, okay, this was a very special case, not compared, or it cannot be compared to another one which was similar, but even anyway not exactly the same, because there wasn't a single another circumstance which then, let's say, leads to another result. And this is where people will always expect And I think also this is absolutely right, that there's a human person, a human being saying, okay, this is right or this was wrong. And that's why here we are, I'm judging it like this or like that. Of course, he can also use ChatGPT to create a kind of a assumption or a first evaluation. So also to speed up the whole judgment process itself. But at the end, the case should still be considered individually. But to make an exemption from that, I think there might be some, let's say, also standard cases with not maybe also linked to some let's say basis or basic values, not really high values where people are fighting about. It is if it's really a standard, and then I think we could also trust more any kind of technical application. I'm not sure if it needs to be necessarily ChatGPT, but when it really comes to standard cases where it's also not about criminal law, where it's not really, let's say, also not critical for the individual human being, maybe with regards to standard real estate cases or things like this, there we could say, okay, why not doing this more or less somehow automatically, or at least supported by some really good legal tech applications, just to be faster, because currently it really takes sometimes months and years to get a decision on a certain case, because all of our courts, the whole court structure, at least in Germany, it is already big, but it is not big enough. There are not enough judges, and it just takes too long to get a decision. People are waiting too long. The whole, at least the administrative process in the background is too slowly. And this is where definitely many options to speed up the process, to make it more efficient, without, let's say, touching up on sensitive individual considerations, I would say.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So I think you already touched upon some of these aspects, but like, so how do we ensure that ChatGPT's decisions and actions align with the ethical and moral principles in the legal system?
I think this is also it is definitely a great efficiency tool, but when it comes to, let's say, moral principles, which also leads to the fact that it is required, at least by European regulation, that it is a kind of a transparent AI application, and that the person who is or the company who is developing it is at the end responsible for the outcomes, for the recommendations that are made. I think there is still definitely for ChatGPT enough to do, in really a lot of things to improve. But this is up to ChatGPT to make sure that, first of all, the sources they are crawling, they are taking into account to create their NLP model, that they are really, let's say, officially available, or that there are no other IPR issues. Then, of course, they need to train the model itself really carefully, checking it again and again, retraining it. So to make sure that there is no, let's say, pre-trained bias or whatever, or failure, which is then included and sums up maybe to some other failures. Because at the end, it is really, or can be compared to a kind of a blockchain application. If one block is wrong, it is permanently included, because one block is built on another block. And same with NLP model. If you then really do not use the chance to retrain it and take somehow the failure out, even if this is a bit really now simplified, but then it can really lead to also to decisions or where you have really issues with if this is ethical, or if the model follows a kind of a moral principle. It is a difficult discussion. I also do not have the perfect answer for that, but at the end, it is really up to to check the sources where they are taking the information from to train the NLP model.
Got it. Got it. So since you are working in this domain very extensively, like, so in your opinion, what steps should the legal profession take to effectively integrate ChatGPT and other AI technologies while maintaining the integrity of the legal profession?
I think first of all, people should really try it. They should test it, and also lawyers. And we can see already the first law firms really being open and transparent about the use of ChatGPT and saying, of course, we are using ChatGPT, but we are also using other sources. Then they are really naming the legal tech application, so that you are also as a client, you are aware of the technical sources they are using. This is, first of all, is really a matter of transparency. But to effectively integrate it, it is maybe still a bit too early to say in which area exactly it can be integrated best. This is something which I think will turn out already in the next months, maybe 1-2 years. We will see really, really useful applications. Also, let's say maybe for due diligence purposes, or really in the wider area, contract creation, any kind of template which is today created by lawyers or paralegals. I think for any kind of standardized work, ChatGPT and also other models in the future can really contribute massively to create efficiency, to make the whole research process faster, but also to be maybe more transparent with the client itself. And it is, I think there are various purposes, but of course, currently the whole process, or how lawyers are also educated, at least here in Germany or in Europe, it is still very traditional. The tech component is pretty low. It should be definitely higher. You should be as a let's say a law student, you should be really aware of many applications. But when I'm let's say doing holding some lessons at the university, which I'm doing once or twice per year, they are even not used to use PowerPoint regularly. So they can type something in Word. Excel is already out of scope because the focus so far is a completely different one. But let's say if we want to use it as a lawyer effectively, we need to start already earlier when it comes to the law studies. And now this is really the right time not to consider this from a theoretical point of view, and to consider all of the, let's say, liability issues and IPR issues and things that might go wrong with an NLP model. We should also be more open and say, okay, even despite all of these legal limitations and possible restrictions and possible potential liability issues, how can we use it really effectively? How we can integrate this, and really being open for new legal tech applications, and not always being afraid and just pushing it away for the time being. This is definitely not where the future is going to be, and this is something that needs to change now dramatically. But I think, and we can also see this here, at least in Europe, some of the universities, they are trying to integrate this now. They are offering some kind of legal tech bachelors and a kind of a master degree, but this is more or less when you are taking a look at the content, it is about the IT law itself. It's again really more about the law again, not really about using the technology, really trying it with your own fingers, with your own hands, and say, okay, how can I use it? How can I also make use out of it? Maybe also, how can I use it during the examination? We've seen in the US, it already passed an examination successfully. Currently now, when you are going to take the state examination in Germany, you are going there with several books like that. Really, it is it is really heavy. I can remember that my back broke down completely because there were too many books in it. It was too heavy, and why not using also there the legal tech applications? Why do we still have to rely on books? This is absolutely far away from any kind of digitalization from a digital world which already exists outside the legal studies. And so it is. This is something when it comes really to integration, which should start there and should start now.
Makes a lot of sense to me actually, and I could really understand the pain behind it. So, yeah. So my last question for today. So, like we discussed a lot during our last podcast on Lex AI and how it's actually automating some of the workflows in the legal context. So, so could you please tell us a bit about what has been achieved so far and what is new? And regarding the NLP model in Lex AI and how you are actually comparing that against the overall
Yeah.
ChatGPT. Please, yeah.
Yeah, this is really good question, and this is also a question I'm now asked since ChatGPT is live more or less permanently. We are also training an NLP model, but NLP model is not NLP model. Each NLP model is really a different one. Is also a unique one. And what we are doing, we are only using official legal text, official regulatory sources, and not like let's say any kind of Wikipedia data or any kind of other summaries created by lawyers, because what we realized is that when it really comes to the summarization of legal acts, really aggregating useful and reliable legal information, you need to train it solely on, and that's the point, really solely on legal language, because we all know legal language is a special one with a lot of basic rules, exemptions, sub-exemptions, and so on. And the language itself can be really complicated, but aggregating such a complicated language, figuring out the relevant information to understand the basic rules, the basic content, this is really an issue. And second reason is that, of course, right from the beginning, we wanted to create a transparent model. I like to really, and I appreciate that I can tell our users we're only using official sources. There are definitely no IPR issues. It is absolutely transparent. I know where our data are coming from. I have no issues with that. We are only using trustful official sources, but because it is the official legal text. And this is one of the, let's say, it is a big difference. It is a massive difference. And especially with regards to the planned European regulation and the regulatory acts for AI itself, for using AI, and with all the restrictions in it, we need to face the planned restrictions already now, because it doesn't make sense to develop something which is at the end or will be against the law in the future, because then it is right from the beginning, people or lawyers are not allowed to use it. And this is something we definitely want, and also we need to avoid, because this is critical to our business itself. And based on that, we are currently developing, and this will be live in, I think, 1.5 weeks, fingers crossed, hopefully, our 24/7 legal newsfeed. This is something which is completely new and combined with the AI created summaries and briefings, we will be able to create a kind of efficiency for lawyers and also paralegals for research and knowledge management, which is not there yet, because of course you can, or yeah, you can have several Google alerts or other newsletters, but this is somehow also completely, yeah, a kind of a static newsletter. It is not dynamic. And what we want to do is creating dynamic legal news, really a news feed, like you know this from Bloomberg news feed, so that you are permanently up to date, but that also the way how you are consuming legal news to speed this up, linking this with all the relevant sources, with the official regulatory text, but also with the AI created summaries, so that you as a lawyer can decide how to approach the legal news, but also a new regulatory act, for instance, and really to speed up the process itself. And this is something which is, at least from our test users so far that are still in a trial period, they really like this. And yeah, also the way how they are consuming the law, this is something that yeah, has changed, where we are really proud on this development in already such an early stage. So we are really excited when we are going live in, yeah, 2 weeks at latest, how this yeah, how the community will yeah, will take this innovation. And but by the way, the most of our test users so far, most of our downloads are from the US and India. This is really exciting, and only third place is Europe with all the different countries. But US and India, it is it's the countries with the most downloads. This is really exciting because this shows that this is definitely a global case.
Great, great. Really, really glad to hear the accomplishment, and thank you so much for shedding light on this important topic, Susan.